Hi, everyone. Welcome. As everyone's coming in, we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning, but we're so happy to have you here on behalf of the Adult Library Marketing Association. I'm Lainey Mays, and I'm here with my co-host, Emily Day, and we're my co-host, my co-chair, but she's a co-host too in this meeting. We're so excited to have you. We're going to talk a lot of books today. We have a lot of people presenting. It's going to be a palooza. But just to let you know, I'm putting the Edelweiss catalog in the chat. We'll continue to put it in there. And follow up after this meeting, you're going to get a certificate, you'll get the slides and a recording. So if you're writing as fast as you can, don't worry, you will get more information later. And, any of our publishing friends who are here, reach out, ask them questions or put it in the chat and everyone will do what they can. Okay, I think without further ado, because we have a lot of books, so let's get going. I'm going to hand it over to Melissa Croce at Simon & Schuster.
Thank you so much, Lainey. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Melissa Croce. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager at Simon & Schuster, and today I'm going to present a few titles that are coming out this spring. So let's get started. Next. How to Fake a Southern Gentleman by Myra Cuevas and Maria Marquardt reimagines the classic My Fair Lady. Unlikely allies Holly and Louisa are teaming up to take down Atlanta's most powerful man, Griggs Caldecott Johnson III, what a name, who has wronged them both in different ways. They decide that the best way to get to him is to infiltrate his inner circle through sexy hustler Elijah, who, with the help of handsome linguistics academic Professor Pridmore, transforms into a Southern gentleman that Griggs would trust. Will Holly and Louisa get justice? And more than that, get love? Next. The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances by Glenn Dixon is for the brave little toaster fans everywhere. In the near future, in a self-running smart house happily lives Harold, Edie, and their sentient appliances. When Edie dies, their lives are disrupted when the appliances learn that the omnipresent grid, capital G, which monitors every household, wants to remove Harold from his home. Banding together with neighborhood allies, both humans and appliances must come together to outwit the grid if they want to stay together. Next. Like This But Funnier by Hallie Cantor is a whip-smart debut novel about Caroline Newman, a mid-30s TV writer who desperately wants to make it in Hollywood. Her usually supportive therapist husband, Harry, thinks maybe instead it's the right time to start a family. What begins as accidentally stumbling upon Harry's patient session notes and offhandedly mentioning them to a producer snowballs into Caroline pitching a TV show about one of Harry's patients, known only as the teacher. When Caroline forms a real-life relationship with the teacher herself, it'll test her own understanding of herself, her morality, and her ambition. Next. American Spirits by Anna Dorn chronicles the rise and fall of pop star Blue Velour, who has finally achieved the success she's been chasing. But her dreams are put on pause with the pandemic, so she holes up in the redwoods with her producer and lover Sasha, an assistant and superfan Rose to make another album. What begins as a creative retreat spirals into a flurry of chaos and betrayal, culminating in a tragic act that will change their lives forever. Next. Cleo Dang Would Rather Be Dead by Mai Win follows Cleo Dang, who, after losing her baby tragically while in labor, feels like a stranger in her own life. Even thornier, her best friend Paloma, also a new mother, is living the life that Cleo wanted. She takes forced leave from her actuary position and instead finds work at a funeral home, where she meets a variety of bereaving people and discovers the power of confronting her grief. Next. I wanted to quickly mention Pomona Afton Can Totally Catch a Killer by Bellamy Rose. This is a follow-up to Pomona Afton Can Solve a Murder, which was one of my favorite reads from last year. The premise is, what if Sheriff from Clueless was plopped into only murders in the building? It is a total delight, and if you haven't checked out book one, make sure you do. Next. Save the Date by Mallory Cass, better known as Cass Morgan, is a fun, fizzy romantic comedy that brings to mind all of the romantic ensemble movies we loved so much from the 2000s, like He's Just Not That Into You or Valentine's Day. Told in alternate. Next. Oh no, am I frozen? Can you still hear me, Lainey? If you can still hear me, then I'll just keep going. Okay, I'm working. Thank you so much. Okay. The Caretaker by Marcus Cleaver is a supernatural horror book about Macy Mullins, who, out of desperation, accepts a vague job posting from Craigslist that lists exciting opportunity, caretaker urgently needed. 3 days of work, competitive pay, serious applicants only. It's 3 days of being in a stranger's house surrounded by Oregon coast wilderness. The easy side gig soon becomes a waking nightmare with Macy becoming coming up against an incomprehensible evil. Will she end up surviving the 3 days of the job? Next. Permanence by Sophie McIntosh asks, how much would you sacrifice for a life that you never thought was possible? Claire and Francis have been having an affair for months now, stealing moments in between their real lives. When they wake up one day and find themselves in an unfamiliar apartment in an unfamiliar utopic city where they can live together openly, they have to wonder, is it too good to be true? And what does forever really look like? Next. The Photonic Effect by Mike Chen is a space opera which follows the crew of the Starship Horizon and its captain, Demi Kim, who spent a decade in service and was not prepared for the homecoming that they receive civil war amongst a once peaceful coalition of planets. Involuntarily conscripted into service to fight, Demi must consider the lives of her crew versus the fate of the galaxy. Next. And then we last have Fast Lane by C.S. Quill. This is an internationally best-selling college romance novel. Hand this to fans who love Hannah Grace or the Amazon Prime series Mea Culpa. Lane is committed to one thing only, running a rideshare app on campus with his friends as a side gig. After his traumatic past, relationships are a non-starter. His neighbor's ex, Lois, is committed to her basketball boyfriend until he dumps her. Now Lois is going through an identity crisis and needs somewhere to stay. When she and Lane become reluctant roommates, it'll be a battle of wills to see who bends first and who falls harder. And I just realized their names were Lois and Lane. Incredible. Next. All right. Please go to simonandschuster.net for more resources, all created and curated for you. Thematic book lists, resources for book clubs and book bans, staff recommendations, info about library reads voting, and more. Next. That is everything from me. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the presentations, and now I'm going to hand it off.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anastasia Scott. I'm the library sales manager from Fiden, presenting to you live from Minneapolis. Apologize that my voice is a bit gone. This is what happens when you have to spend the weekend out protesting in the Minnesota cold, which is a good segue into our first book. So next slide, please. The Legacy Sites is a landmark publication by the Equal Justice Initiative with a foreword from their executive director and New York Times bestselling author, who I'm sure you all know, Bryan Stevenson. You're probably familiar with Bryan's best-selling 2014 memoir, Just Mercy, which has sold more than 1.5 million copies in the US alone, or the 2019 HBO documentary True Justice, or even the 2019 feature film Just Mercy, starring actor Michael B. Jordan as Bryan Stevenson. EJI also has a very active social media presence with 500,000 followers. Highly recommend giving them a follow on Instagram. Next slide, please. So this new book celebrates one of the most important museums and cultural institutions in North America, the Legacy Sites, and tells the story of their groundbreaking work in Montgomery, Alabama, and beyond. The three legacy sites that are explored here are extraordinary places, the Legacy Museum, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, and the newest Freedom Monument Sculpture Park. These are sites of art, memorial, architectural marvel, and mostly history. And together, they invite the readers to engage deeply with America's long and ongoing struggle for racial justice. This book is a meditation on the power of memory, the importance of truth-telling, and the hope that is found in justice-oriented action. The message is pretty straightforward. To overcome racial inequality, we must confront our history. Next slide, please. I know across the country, there's a lot of conversation around how do we document and memorialize sites of racial injustice. This book is a fascinating case study. It should be in every collection. And I'm hoping that many of you will be attending Public Library Association conference, which is in Minneapolis this April. We are so thrilled to share that Bryan Stevenson will be the speaker at the opening general session. He's amazing, and I can't wait for all of you to hear him speak. Next slide. On to something a little bit lighter, a lot more delicious. the Caribbean Cookbook. So the Caribbean Cookbook is Fiden's latest single subject food Bible. It's the first book by Chef Ralston Williams, who was born and raised in St. Vincent in the Grenadines. He was for many years the chef owner of a much loved Caribbean restaurant called the Food Sermon in Brooklyn. Maybe some of you have been there. Next slide, please. Caribbean cuisine is one of the most distinctive and flavorful culinary traditions in the world, shared by centuries of migration, trade, colonization, and cultural exchange. It represents a unique blending of indigenous, African, European, Indian, and Asian influences, each one leaving its mark on the foodways of these island nations. Next slide, please. Williams explores and highlights these origins and influences in the book, which feature core ingredients such as cassava, yams, sweet potatoes, Scotch bonnet peppers, salted cod, sugar cane, citrus fruits, and bananas in 380 recipes. That's a lot, from across the region's 28 island nations and dependencies. This is just an incredibly in-depth study on the region's incredible food scene. If you can't swing an island vacation this winter, this book is the next best thing. Next slide. Next, we have The Greek Kitchen. So you might be familiar with Fiden's globally best-selling Grease, the cookbook, which has sold some 85,000 copies worldwide. And like all of our studies into global cuisine, like the Caribbean Cookbook, which you just heard about, these are very dense, very comprehensive looks at food around the world. So this spring, we're launching a new series of abridged cookbooks that repackage 75 of the country's most iconic and delicious recipes into a smaller, more affordable package. It features a $29.95 price point, lots of stunning food photography, and the Greek Kitchen is a great intro for anyone interested in the Mediterranean diet or Greek home cooking. Next slide. You can see here from some of these very gorgeous, delectable interiors. It's filled with hearty meals from chicken souvlaki to spinach and cheese pie, baklava, lots more, all the good stuff. Next slide, please. This book is just really perfect for anyone who's focused on trying to stay, maybe try a healthy Mediterranean diet, but still enjoying really delicious food. Next slide. So same series, The Vegan Kitchen is the same idea. It's excerpted from the globally best-selling Vegan, the Cookbook, which has sold over 75,000 copies. And this new abridged lower price point edition includes 75 of the book's tastiest recipes. Next slide, please. This is a really global look at vegan dishes. It has recipes from Azerbaijan to the US and Spain to the Bahamas, just all over. And the book showcases the culinary diversity of plant-based ingredients, highlighting regional fruits and vegetables, traditional cooking techniques, and giving readers an insight into how easy and flavorful vegan food can be. Next slide. A big gulp of tea, excuse me. So publishing in February, this is going to be a perfect book for anyone who's trying to eat more plant-based meals in 2026. I know I am. I'm sure a lot of us are out there. Next slide. So next we have Classic Indian Recipes. This is the latest title by renowned culinary historian and food writer Pushpa Pant, author of Fiden's India, the Cookbook, which was hailed as the first truly comprehensive guide to Indian cooking. Here he presents 140 classic Indian recipes, a carefully curated selection of the standout dishes from India's huge culinary repertoire. Next slide. You can see this book is just very gorgeously designed, and it contains lots of insights into the cultural and historical background of each of the dishes, including a detailed glossary covering harder to source ingredients. Next slide. It's really just a perfect entry point for anyone wishing to explore and understand more of this diverse cuisine. And finally, lastly, the kitchen garden. Next slide. Groceries are expensive right now. People are increasingly looking to grow their own food. So insert the most gorgeous inspiration book for anyone looking to start their own home vegetable garden. Next slide. It features a diverse range of gardens from more than 15 countries, from cottagers and walled gardens to community gardens and urban rooftop farms. It has an illustrated introduction that tells about the history of kitchen gardens and also essays on a range of key subjects, from soil nutrition to tips for growing heritage varieties. You just won't be able to flip through this without mentally designing your dream kitchen garden. That's everything. Thanks, everyone. Next slide, please. My details are on this last slide if you have any questions. And now I believe we're over to Golda.
Hi, everybody. I'm Golda Rademacher from Norton. Here are my contact details and the publishers that we distribute. Next slide. And then I have a few winter highlights just to remind you of things that are coming out soon. Next slide. And of course, some suggestions for library reads. The March votes are due by February 1st. Next slide. So now I'll get into the spring summer books. Laura Vanderkam is a beloved time management and productivity expert. In her new book, Big Time, she uses original research looking at how hundreds of real people spend their time, and she uses her own experience of tracking her time for a decade to offer tactics for how to manage a complex life, stick with long-term projects by breaking big goals into tiny steps, and make the most of leisure time many people don't even notice. One of the time studies that she did was actually with a librarian, so that's kind of fun. Big Time is practical and encouraging. The book offers simple, tested advice with big impact. Instead of thinking of time as scarce and stressful, here's how to find more time in your life for the things you care about. Next slide. James Lasdon is a novelist, but he also writes for The New Yorker. He started covering the Murdaugh case, and his article on this case was the most read story of 2023 at The New Yorker. In this new true crime book, The Family Man, Lasdon looks at Murdaugh through a series of revelatory perspectives that include recordings of Murdaugh's jail conversations, the literature of criminal psychology, and the murder trial itself, to create a portrait of his subject and an immersive account of the psychological and social processes by which a seemingly loving family man became a family annihilator. Next slide. Ulysses S. Cat is the new book by the beloved NPR host Scott Simon. He warmly philosophizes on the unforgettable and utterly ordinary moments between species, along with their joys, worries, love, and humor. Depicting a lifetime of remarkable, enduring relationships with pets, Simon explores the difficulty of expressing the strong ties we feel, a kinship between humans and animals that's more familial than owner and more mutual than caregiver or guardian. His family has been really creative with their pet names over the years. Some examples are Bagel the hamster, Gato Blanco, Salmon Fishty, and the titular Ulysses S. Cat. The book is a lovely profusion of exuberant memories and musings on a life spent in animal company. Next slide. Robert Macfarlane is the best-selling author of Is a River Alive? For his new book, The Book of Birds, he has teamed back up with Jackie Morris, who also illustrated his The Lost Words and The Lost Spells. In The Book of Birds, Macfarlane shows readers not just how to identify birds, but also how to identify with them. In lyrical essays, Macfarlane describes each bird's habits and habitats, their patterns of flight and patterns of song, how they hunt or fish or scavenge or gather, how they nest and raise their chicks, the myths that attend them, the threats that shadow them, and how their lives intersect with our own. Morris's beautiful artwork brings the birds to life. This is a celebration of bird life and highlights the work that needs to be done to save them. Next slide. The Arcadian is Stephen Pressfield's follow-up to A Man at Arms, but you don't have to have read that one to get the story. This will stand alone. This is a gripping, genre-bending story of a mercenary in late medieval Spain and the eternal costs of violence. Telamon of Arcadia and his horse are fated to live again and again, century after century, bound by the karma of violence and the wheel of reincarnation. Now, drawn into the brutal conflict between Portuguese invaders and Andalusian defenders, he must face both the battlefield before him and the eternal war within himself. The novel fuses the grit of historical realism with the mysticism of the ancient world. A meditation on fate, justice, and release from violence, the Arcadian asks not just how men fight, but why. Next slide. And my next fiction highlight is The Devil and Mrs. Gooch, which is Oliver Darkshire's second novel after Isabella Nag and The Pot of Basil. Gwendolyn Gooch, the 6-foot jackbooted entrepreneurial villain of Darkshire's debut, is the star of this one. Her villainy is so spectacular that she attracts the devil himself, who loses himself in her glorious capitalistic cruelty and becomes her lieutenant. Opposing them is a new protagonist, Professor Green, a scholar whose father runs the old wizarding establishment of Verdigris, and who would rather be left alone to study his books in the scriptorium. This book expands the universe of the books, kind of like Terry Pratchett used to do with his Discworld series. It has elements of both high and cozy fantasy and includes many creatures from British folklore. Next slide. This just has some more summer highlights, including a book on soap operas called Love in the Afternoon. Librarian and TikToker Haley DeRoche's first book, Dress Your Baby in Sage and Taupe. Maritime History by Eric J. Dolan, and one of the new titles in a new line of manga being published by Fantagraphics. Next slide. And here is my contact information again. Please check out our catalogs on Edelweiss. We are adding DRCs as soon as we get them. I know there's not very many up yet, but we're working on it. So reach out to me if you need anything, and thank you so much for listening.
Hello, everybody. Pardon my ghastly appearance. The lighting in this phone booth is awful. I'm Annie Mazes with Hachette Book Group. And next, this is our information. Please reach out if you have any questions. Starting with Treat Them as Buffalo. This is a riveting anti-Western from an exciting new Indigenous writer. It's 1885. Teenage boys begin to disappear from the Great Plains Métis community, and a young man attempts to uncover the evil force lurking out of sight. It's a debut YA crossover novel for fans of News of the World and Outlawed, with a woman-led coalition of really badass freedom fighters featured. Next is Babylon, South Dakota, with the beautiful jacket. This is by Tom Lin, who is the winner of the Carnegie Medal of Fiction for The Thousand Crimes of Ming Su. This is another American West saga about a Chinese-American family trying to survive on their Dakota farm as a very powerful, mysterious, and morally dubious military secret shapes their lives. The next title we're talking about is Alan Opts Out, for readers of Rufy Thorpe and Taffy Brodesser Actor. This is a story of an ad exec who bombs the biggest pitch of his very successful career and decides to forego capitalism and live off the land of his fancy suburban Connecticut home. This is a timely and comedic take on ambition, consumerism, and the sticker price of privilege from an author known for her stealth comedic satires of the industrial happiness complex. Next is Valley of the Moms. All of the jackets are very, very exciting to me. This is Stepford Wives meets Big Little Lies. It's a twisty thriller that uncovers the untruths, petty grievances, and local school politics underneath a seemingly quaint and very privileged small town. Next up is The Witch Below the Dreaming Wood. From the author of The Magician's Daughter comes a historical fantasy about a librarian and her connection to the Arthurian legend of the Lady of the Lake. Two timelines of World War II England and ancient Camelot weave together to form an intricate narrative that explores themes of nationhood, history, and myth-making. This is perfect for fans of the Everlasting and the Once and Future King. Switching over to some nonfiction, make-believe. Mac Barnett is the U.S. National Ambassador for Young People's Literature and a New York Times bestselling award-winning children's book author. Make Believe is a book for adults about books for children. This is a rallying cry for art and imagination and an invitation to approach children's literature not only as an art form worthy of deep study and criticism, but as a portal into the lives of children. Next is What's Going Right. This affirming book from world-renowned and celebrity-endorsed psychiatrist Dr. Paul Conti offers a paradigm-shifting approach to optimizing mental health. Start addressing our mental health by not focusing on what's going wrong, but rather on what's going right. Next, MacB, yay, Donna. Moral economics. Alvin Roth is a giant in economics and one of the pioneers of the subdiscipline of market design. and he was a co-recipient of the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2012 for his work in this field. His argument is that some of the most intractable controversies in our divided society are essentially about what actions and transactions should be banned. Roth asserts that we can make progress on difficult topics if we review them as markets, tools to help decide who gets what, and understand how those markets can be fine-tuned to be more functional. Moral economics offers a powerful and innovative new framework for resolving today's hardest controversies. Next is Ancient Myths and Legends Without Men. Expert classicist Tamara Gold recenters the women at the heart of some of the world's most enduring myths and shines a new light on iconic figures like Medusa, Hera, Persephone, revealing the power, complexity, and agency that they've always had. Next is All the Feels. Pamela Pavlicek is a consultant and researcher who teaches emotionally intelligent tech design at Pratt Institute. All the Feels is Because Internet meets Nancy Jo Sales' American's Girls and reveals the way that our emotional range and ability to name and communicate our feelings has actually expanded and deepened in the internet age. It teaches how we can spend our lives online enriching our human connections rather than destroying them. And last is The Wound is Where the Light Enters. In the vein of Righting My Wrongs, this is a memoir from a young man sentenced to life in prison who gave such a moving speech during his trial that the judge left his position and fought to free him, shining a light on the prison industrial complex and showing how potential remains locked behind bars. That's it for me. Next slide is a link to our book club catalog. We have lots of fiction and nonfiction suggestions for book clubs and community reads and questions. And if you'd like to ask me any questions, please feel free to get in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annie. Hello, everyone. I am Chris Vicari of Union Square and Company. It is great to see you all again. On the next slide, starting with some January to March books, we have The Venice Double by Jesse DeRoy. It picks up where Safecracker left off now with Duke Duquesne going to Italy for a family caper. The Truth of Carcosa is a masterful tribute to Robert Chambers' horror classic, The King in Yellow. If you love Daisy Jones and the Six, the Encore offers readers a backstage pass to the rewards of chasing a long-held dream and life's possibilities for redemption. Unread in the year 2022, author Oliver James went on TikTok and said, "What's up? I can't read." But he did more than say it. He made the decision to learn to read as an adult, and this is his full story through 21 key books. Cocina Puerto Rico, Chef Mia Castro beat Bobby Flay and later collected the recipes that represent her family's homeland for you to recreate in your kitchen. And most of us can't afford a private chef, but with social media darling and private chef Riley Meehan to tell you secrets he uses to impress his clients and a little bit extra, it will feel like you can. Next slide, please. Coming in April, we have Wife House by Sonia Walger. Over 1 year and told through perspectives of multiple characters. A messy but nuanced portrait is painted of a mother and devoted wife who has an affair with her friend's son's tutor and walks away from every role expected of her and what that decision means for everyone in her life. Next slide, Mrs. Jekyll, a hypnotic retelling of the classic Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It tells the tale of Rosie Winter, a school teacher facing terminal breast cancer and the internal struggle and transformation that occurs within her as she navigates its realities and impact on her closest relationships. It has received high praise from George Saunders, who hailed the author as a, quote, immensely talented young writer. Next slide, please. This Blade of Ours by Shalini Abey-Sakara, continuing the saga told in the #1 Sunday Times best-selling This Monster of Mine, which got a starred review in Library Journal. Here in Book 2, trapped between love and a crumbling country, our protagonists, Sarai and Kadra, must outwit an evil power with deep roots in fear and cruelty while navigating political intrigue, morally questionable characters, and oh yeah, some spicy spice romance. Next, please. Healthy with a side of happy. Since opening organic vegetarian restaurant Spring Cafe in 2013 and also becoming a mom, author Sabrina Rudin has grown into a passionate advocate for raising awareness about toxins in our food and educating people how to cook, eat, and live in a better way. In her debut cookbook, she will teach you in 100 recipes how to create healthy plant-based meals at home, simple enough to satisfy all ages and palates, whether it's your youngest picky child, a growing teen, or a busy professional. Next slide, please. Age Rebellion by Lindsay Simpson. Changes in health and wellness show we have added 30 years to life expectancy in the last century. But many folks still think about retiring, or maybe are forced to retire around age 60. The Age Rebellion implores you to plan for those extra 30 years as it rips up the rule book on retirement and stresses how we must adapt to what growing older means in today's streaming, digital, tick-tocky world. It's action-oriented, challenges old myths about what it means to retire, and will empower readers to reclaim control and revise the rules of what's possible no matter your age. Next slide, please. Potshot by Laura Piper Lee. A steamy rom-com. On one side, we have Nomi, a former valedictorian and current pothead who wants to open her very own dispensary in her beloved New Jersey hometown. After all, cannabis changed her life, bringing her Crohn's disease under control. On the other side, we have former #2 student, irritatingly handsome, but also irritating doctor named Julian, who serves in the local clinic where he has an ultimatum: be likable or forget about working at Philadelphia General Hospital, Julian. When a mishap brings these former high school nemesis together, Julian is appalled to learn that the woman who broke his heart is planning to open a dispensary next to his clinic. As they battle each other all over town, from potluck fundraisers to city council meetings, their fraught pasts and feelings for each other become harder to ignore. And it's tough to say what will change first, their minds or their hearts. Let's call this a spicy stoner romance. And like the heroine, author like Laura Piper Lee has an illness that has been helpfully managed by cannabis use, so she speaks from the heart in Potshot. Next, Vervain Hollow, a claustrophobic gothic thriller by Katrina Silvey. 2 years ago, our protagonist Laura was in a cult, but when the house in the hollow burned down with Vervain, the cult leader, trapped inside, Laura had nowhere to go but back home, and despite the trauma of this time, found herself longing for him. Soon after, she learns that after one of the other acolytes, has been lured back to the hollow by a message from the thought-to-be-dead cult leader, she ventures back to the House of Nightmares to find the truth and realizes that not everything she remembers can be trusted, and the dynamics of control can still blossom. Next is White Rabbit. In a yellow house perched on the edge of Massachusetts Bay, 11-year-old Penelope Willows is living with loss. Her father is gone, while her mother drifts further and further away each day, lost in her own grief. Penelope, though, clings to her own routines, hoping to hold her world together. But this is no ordinary house. It once belonged to the poet Sylvia Plath, and her presence lingers in every corner, her ghost becoming an unexpected companion to Penelope. And as the days stretch on, Penelope begins to hear the echoes of Plath's poetry in the wind and see her ghost in the mirrors and empty rooms. Next slide, please. Haunted by the absence of her father and the ghost of Sylvia Plath, Penelope must navigate the treacherous waters of memory, madness, and the fear that she too could be lost. Readers who resonate with Plath's work will identify with this book, but I think others will too, because it's a wonderful story about childhood, reality versus imagination, grief, and resilience. You can meet Abigail at this year's PLA conference, and you can see the many words of praise here. Lastly, Some Sort of Justice by Peter Granger. Union Square announced late last year that we will put in print for the very first time in the U.S. 17 titles in Peter Granger's UK detective series, centering on the detective D.C. Smith, a widower who can't imagine not being on the job and was called by the Financial Times the love child of Le Carre's George Smiley. His books have sold over 1 million copies in ebook and audio formats. We hope to put him alongside best-selling contemporaries here in the United States. This includes Book 1, An Accidental Death, all the way up to the 17th and brand new book in the series called Some Sort of Justice, starring the female detective Kara Freeman, slated for publication in June 2026. We'll be pushing this series throughout the year as we try to acquaint the American audience with his writing, characters, and gripping plots. My friends, those are the books, and that's the way it is today, Tuesday, January 13, 2026. It is time now for our next presenter.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maddie Hughes, and I'm the School and Library Marketing Manager for Disney Publishing. I'm so happy to be here this morning to share some of our upcoming titles. First up, we have some nonfiction titles from National Geographic. National Geographic is known for its excellent guides to the national parks of the United States, and these two new titles are no exception. Coming in at a whopping 736 pages, The Ultimate Guide to the National Parks is a comprehensive guide full of expert advice on the best trails, scenic drives, wildlife spotting, must-do adventures, everything you need to plan a trip to any one of the 63 national parks in the U.S. And while you're planning a trip or reminiscing on the trip you just returned from, you can enjoy a taste of the parks at home with National Parks Cookbook, This cookbook has 100 recipes inspired by America's national parks. Some are recipes for famous dishes served in or near the park, while others are inspired by the local cuisine and ingredients. Um, each recipe pays homage to the park's unique nature and beauty. Next slide. In Grizzled, science journalist Jason Biddle taps into current research about the behavior of key North American animals. From fireflies and hummingbirds to alligators and sharks, this collection of 50 brief essays combines witty prose and vivid illustrations to reveal the secret lives and oddball behaviors of North American creatures, both familiar and little known. Next slide. What will our future look like? This is a question many of us are asking, especially as we see so many technological innovations that were previously only found in science fiction appearing as reality in our daily lives. In The Next Big Thing, meteorologist and science reporter Rob Marciano invites readers to take a journey through the innovations that will change our lives for the better in 4 key realms of science: energy, electricity, infrastructure, and information. These innovations include electric aircraft, a timber skyscraper, and nuclear fusion energy. Marciano's reporting is complemented by physicist James Trefil, who unpacks the science behind each innovation. Next slide. Explore the most charming side of America in Small Town USA, a one-of-a-kind collection of beautiful small towns across all 50 states. From coast to coast, you'll explore the best places to dine, coziest bed and breakfast lodgings, and the must-see sights of 100 beloved towns, complemented by stunning National Geographic imagery. And I'm also excited to share that the 100 of a Lifetime series is returning with 100 Hikes of a Lifetime USA. The original 100 Hikes of a Lifetime has been incredibly popular. I'm so excited for this next installment that exclusively covers hikes in the United States. Next slide. 1,000 Days in America is a 250th anniversary celebration of the United States featuring 1,000 singular moments that shaped the American journey from prehistory to present and is filled with more than 300 illustrations, sidebars, and timelines, plus penetrating commentary by prominent historians including Walter Isaacson and Michael Beschloss. Part examination, part celebration, this book captures the will of the American people to continue defining themselves after 250 years, reflecting the diversity, pride, and resiliency of these United States. Next slide. Moving on to fiction. In The Alchemy, New York Times bestselling author Rachel Vincent pens a dark paranormal romantasy centered on alchemy magic and those who dare harness it. When Amber Fallbrook wakes up one morning, she doesn't recognize the stone tower she's awoken in or the beautiful man in bed beside her. She also doesn't recognize the man who barges into the room unannounced, clearly expecting to find her alone. As Amber begins to piece together her life, she realizes that she is a student at the Alchemy, a prestigious university dedicated to the study of alchemy. And the two men, turns out they're her childhood friends, and to make matters worse, brothers. This book has absolutely everything one could want in a romantasy novel: a love triangle with 2 eligible bachelors, a well-realized fantasy world, and a compelling mystery. Next slide. In Thrall, 23-year-old Lucy Easting has at last broken free from her grim home life and is ready to truly live. But her long-awaited new beginning at Rollins University isn't what she expected. After attending the first campus party of the year, Lucy awakens the next day with a memory block and 2 puncture marks on her neck. When Lucy begins to dig deeper, she connects with the host of a show at the campus radio station, who confirms Lucy's worst fear. She was the victim of a vampire attack and is now turning into a vampire. With nowhere else to turn, Lucy teams up with the host and another student to form a ragtag team of vampire hunters who are taking the quest for justice into their own hands. Written by YA author Rebecca Mahoney in her adult debut, this book puts a supernatural spin on the very real harm that befalls many young women at college and what it means to fight back and reclaim your own life. But while there is that darker underlayer, this book is also a really fun campus horror novel and also features a sapphic romance. Next slide. The Sopranos meets Dungeons and Dragons when a crime boss's son accidentally becomes a crowdfunding superstar and disrupts business on the streets in Dirty 20, a new novel by author Bill Schweigart. Despite being son to Don Alessandro Fugue, a local crime boss, Tommy Fugue has never had much interest in the family business. But when his father assigns him the summer job of mastering digital money laundering, Tommy figures he can list some fake projects on Funder, pledge them with zombie accounts, and clean a dirty $20,000 in time for college in the fall. Unfortunately, when the role-playing game he mocked up using his mom's old artwork has been funded to the tune of $650,000 and counting, Tommy is sold to turn the scam into a real game. Now he's getting deeper into the family business than he ever wanted, but he may just be able to use this game to figure out what really happened to his mother, who mysteriously disappeared a year ago. This book is perfect for fans of darkly humorous crime fiction and role-playing games. Next slide. Mr. Yeh is the newest genre-blending speculative novel from Emily Jane, author of American Werewolves and On Earth as It Is on Television. When budding musician Fatty Bratty wakes up in his terrible apartment to a random dog he doesn't own, he takes it as a sign to screw his parents' expectations, and so, over a manic week, he and his best friend write and record their first rap album. They call themselves Mr. Yeh. Bratty's therapist, Miriam, remembers a different Mr. Yeh, the one from the old children's TV show. But strangely, her husband Jack has no memory of the show at all. As Mr. Yeh climbs the charts with his rap songs, Miriam watches her life unravel. Jack is increasingly absent, more secretive, reckless. He hardly resembles the man she married. It's not just that he's forgotten the Mr. Yeh show. It's that on the internet, and according to the studio and half the population, there is no Mr. Yeh. There never was. Witty, heartfelt, deeply weird, and utterly original, Mr. Yeh explores how we grapple with inexplicable sudden shifts in the world around us and the conspiracy theories and identity crises they birth. If the past we remembered has changed, are we who we think we are? Is anyone? Next slide. Finally, just wanted to say that the New York Times bestselling series that began with Murder by Cheesecake continues with an all-new Golden Girls cozy mystery, Death on the Lanai. When the girls accept a very strange invitation to a lavish party on a remote island estate, they find that murder has a way of ruining even the most glamorous of evenings. So we're really excited about this one. Next slide. That's all from me. If you want to get in touch, please feel free to reach out. We have a lot of these titles, especially the fiction ones, available on NetGalley and Edelweiss. Thank you so much.
Right. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to chat with you about some of our adult titles coming soon from your friends at Sourcebooks. Next slide, please. My name is Emily Ludloff, and I'm an Associate Marketing Manager for Libraries at Sourcebooks. You can follow us on our listed socials here to stay up to date with our latest news, galleys, and resources. Of course, you can email me with any questions you may have, including if you would like to be whitelisted on Edelweiss or NetGalley. Now, on to the books. Next slide. All right, we're going to start out with some litfic titles. Next slide. All right, The Mountains We Call Home is a delightful return to the world of the bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. In this standalone companion, legendary bookwoman Cussie Lovett returns home in a powerful story of resilience and hope. Set against a richly detailed portrait of Kentucky life, the novel explores incarceration, poverty, and the lasting impact of fractured families, while also celebrating the transformative power of books and literacy. Meticulously researched and filled with the vivid new characters, this is a heartfelt and unflinching tale that captures both the grit and grace of those fighting to survive, and the courage found in sharing stories when there seems to be no way out. Next slide. Rooted in memory and magic, the Library of Flowers follows Lucy, heir to a legendary line of Chinese perfumers whose scents shape hearts and destinies. Expected to inherit the rare power to summon true love, Lucy instead flees her family's crushing expectations when her magic fails. Years later, she lives quietly in Toronto until a death calls her home and leaves her an ancient family register full of secrets. As Lucy uncovers the stories of the women before her, including her complicated mother, she must confront her legacy and decide whether her magic was truly lost or waiting for her to define it herself. Next slide. All right, most ardently yours. Ask the question we have all asked before, and in my case, 1.5 million times. What if you could summon your book boyfriend to real life? Right. Romance lover and struggling writer Zoe Knight has sworn off men after a heated encounter with Nick, the annoyingly attractive owner of a London bookshop who hates romance novels. Zoe steals a battered copy of Pride and Prejudice. One careless reading later, her ultimate book boyfriend steps off the page and into her life. But bringing Darcy to the modern world comes with consequences for literature and for Zoe's heart. With Nick insisting Darcy must return home, Zoe must decide what a true happily ever after looks like and whether real love can ever compete with the perfect one on the page. Next slide. All right, we're going to move on to some mystery and frights for a cold winter's night. Next slide. A Murder Most Camp is the Gunkle meets Every Time I Go on Vacation, Somebody Dies in a fun, quirky mystery. It follows Mikey Hartford the Fourth, who has never worked a day in his life until his father cuts off his trust and sends him to volunteer at a failing summer camp. Stuck at Camp Lore with a pack of misfit 12-year-olds, Mikey is barely surviving when a local campfire legend about a missing counselor turns ominously real. What begins as a harmless ghost story spirals into a deadly mystery as the kids uncover clues pointing to long-buried crimes. With the camp's future and lives on the line, Mikey must grow up fast and solve a real murder to save Camp Lore and prove he is worth his inheritance. Next slide. All right, Bone of My Bone, probably the one I'm most excited about today, is the new horror novel from USA Today bestselling author Joanna Van Veen. Fleeing war-torn Bavaria, Sister Ursula and Elsbeth, a clever orphan, form a fragile alliance to survive. Their fate changes when they find a dying man guarding a saint's gilded skull and a promise. If they reunite the skull with the body, a wish will be granted. Desperate for salvation, they follow a dangerous map across a blighted land, pursued by a necromancer, haunted by a whispering saint, and stalked by a power that blurs miracle and curse. As the cost of magic becomes clear, Ursula and Elsbeth must face an impossible choice, one that could save them or bind them together forever. Next slide. All right, on the opposite end of the spectrum, get ready to fall in love with some romance. Next slide, please. All right, Mistakes Were Made in the second in the #1 New York Times bestselling author Lucy Score's Story Lake series. Literary agent Zoe Moody is broke, banished from Manhattan, and stuck in a tiny Pennsylvania town until her best friend's next romance novel becomes a hit. The only thing standing in her way is her infuriatingly attractive landlord, Gage Bishop, who is smart, steady, and actively looking for a wife. Zoe wants nothing more than a no-strings escape, while Gage has his future meticulously planned. They're completely wrong for each other until a devastating family secret draws them together for one unforgettable night. What was meant to be temporary could change everything or ruin it all. Next slide. All right, Love Song is a new steamy, standalone summer romance from New York Times bestselling author Elle Kennedy. After a brutal breakup, college junior Blake Logan retreats to her family's Tahoe Lake house, determined to avoid all men and drama, until Wyatt Graham shows up. Older, irresistible, and the boy who once broke her heart, Wyatt is the last complication she needs. With his music career stalled, Wyatt didn't expect to find inspiration in Blake, now confident and impossible to ignore. What starts as simmering tension turns into a fleeting summer romance until tragedy tears them apart. But some loves just don't fade. When fate brings them together again, Blake and Wyatt must decide if their story deserves a second chance or a final goodbye. Next slide. That is all the books I have for you today, but please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, and don't forget to vote for Library Reads. Thank you guys so much.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here today. I'm Katie Vaughn, I'm the marketing manager at Bloomsbury, and I will drop our Google form link in the chat so you can request review copies of the following books. But for now, we will jump right into the first slide. So coming soon in February, we have Every Happiness by Rena Shah. This is a moving debut novel that follows a lifelong friendship between Deepa and Ruchi, exploring the ties that bind the two women across decades and continents, despite rivalry, class difference, and the conflicting needs of family and self. As they grow up, move from India to the US, and face the limits of their ambitions, their friendship is marked by intimacy, jealousy, and suppressed desire. Then we have The Chosen and the Damned by the award-winning author of This Land Is Their Land, David J. Silverman. This is a sweeping chronicle placing race at the center of Native American U.S. history. Silverman traces Indian white racial arguments across 4 centuries, showing how white identity, defined against Indians, became central to American nationhood. And then next we have Why Fly? Seeking Awe, Healing, and Our True Selves in the Sky from New York Times bestselling author Caroline Paul. This soaring narrative examines the way that flight, like love, confounds yet transforms us, touching on Paul's own experience with divorce and escaping to the skies. And then finally on this one, we have Rail Song, a breathtaking new novel from Rahul Bhattacharya about a woman forging a life for herself on the railways. It's a heartwarming story of an individual coming of age amid the social and political upheavals of 20th century India, and Kamala Shamsi calls the novel magnificent, saying she would follow the main character to the ends of the earth. And then on the next slide, we have The Blood Countess, Murder, Betrayal, and the Making of a Monster from the best-selling author of The Dark Queens, Shelley Puhak. This is a gripping work of true crime and feminist history about the woman alleged to be the world's most prolific female serial killer. Elizabeth Bathory was said to have tortured and killed as many as 650 girls in her castle, but despite these claims, some have wondered if the Countess herself was a victim of one of the most successful disinformation campaigns known to history. Puhak traces the Countess's downfall, rendering a vivid portrait of history's most dangerous woman and revealing just how far we'll go to destroy a woman in power. Then on the next slide, we have The Bodybuilders by debut author Albertine Clark. Sam Franzini of Our Culture calls it a hypnotic novel about the separation between mind and body. The Bodybuilders narrates Ada, who, reeling from her parents' divorce after her father decides to get jacked, falls into the orbit of a man named Atticus and sublimates herself within the speculative. It's a breakout novel and a genre-bending read that offers the perfect balance between the real and surreal. Then on the next slide, we have Honeysuckle by debut author Bar Friedman Tell, one of my favorite books I've read in recent memory. We can go to the next slide. And yes, thank you. This is a darkly enchanting fairy tale tinged horror novel that'll have you rooted in place until the final page. The story reimagines the Welsh myth of Blodeuwedd, following Day, a girl made of flowers, and Rory, the lonely boy who will do absolutely anything to keep her from decaying. It's a gothic tale that explores the creator versus creature dynamic, the line between love and obsession, and themes of autonomy and consent, perfect for readers of Wayward and Frankenstein, as well as botanical horror novels like Hazelthorne and Don't Let the Forest In. Really, such a great read. And then on the next slide, in April, we will have Tailbone, a raw and heartrending debut novel about a teenager who runs away from her abusive home to live in a boarding house for single women, just as a global financial crash threatens the people of Seoul, South Korea. For readers of Four Treasures of the Sky and Fault Lines, it explores themes of survival, the impact of colonial and familial violence, class, privilege, and womanhood. Homeseeking author Carissa Chen calls it an unflinching look at what it means for a teenage girl to come of age in a society racked by economic instability, consumerism, and desperation. And then on the next slide, also in April, we have Break Room by the author and translator of the Dallergut Dream Department Store. 8 unsuspecting people receive an invitation to participate in a new reality show called Break Room, but they're unnerved when they eventually learn how they were chosen, voted in by their respective coworkers as the office villain. This is a Korean game show psychological drama for fans of Squid Game and The 8 Show that'll appeal to readers of workplace satire like Convenience Store Woman and There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job. And then on the following slide, we have Crescendo by Jane Healy, author of The Ophelia Girls, which is another book I'm so excited about. This is an absolute breakout historical fiction novel coming in June, exploring artistic obsession and sibling rivalry set in the concert halls and ballet theaters of 1950s France. Max Kitson is a world-renowned pianist, and his twin sister Natasha is his manager and minder. But when at age 20, the former prodigy begins making uncharacteristic mistakes, he abruptly cancels his latest world tour. Without consulting Natasha, Max arranges to stay in the home of an enigmatic French patron, never realizing that said patron has been his sister's lover. Over the course of one summer, Natasha's long-simmering resentment and Max's deep insecurities drive the siblings apart as they vie for Henri's attentions. Gorgeously and grippingly written crescendo is perfect for fans of Taylor Jenkins Reid and Kristen Hanna. And then finally, on the next slide, we have all these fantastic titles on deck as well. Red Dawn Over China is the latest from prize-winning historian Frank DeCotter, coming in February. Truth and Consequence is a posthumous collection of writings from legendary Pentagon Papers whistleblower and anti-war activist Daniel Ellsberg. A Year of Cut Flowers is a helpful guide full of rich photography to help you bring the vibrant joy of your garden inside. Men Like Ours is a darkly funny debut novel from Bindu Basanath that employs the powerful and often humorous choral voice of a South Asian community in contemporary America in the aftermath of tragedy. And finally, The Tomato Grower's Handbook is a fully illustrated, beginner-friendly guide to growing the popular and versatile ingredient featuring simple recipes. And on the very last slide, that is it for us. Thank you so much for listening. Please do feel free to reach out to me via email to ask any questions and check out our Google form in the chat to request any of these books. Thanks so much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Celia Madison. I'm going to share some exciting new titles from some of our independent presses today. Next slide, please. First, I have to practice my infomercial voice. Do you like reading? We've started a new program here at IPS, matching librarians with the presses that are publishing books in their favorite categories. If you would like to enroll and receive some free new books, you can follow that URL. Very easy to remember, Live to Read. Next slide, please. My first novel, Casually Yours. Danny and Parker were unlikely best friends in small town Oregon until their friendship suddenly ended in college. Years later, they meet again in New York City and they feel this unexpected spark between the two of them. They embark on what's supposed to be a casual relationship, but it quickly morphs into something much deeper. This is a spicy second chance friends to lover romance from one of the foremost publishers working in books about Asian America. Next slide, please. And we have so many other romance novels for truly all types of readers. I won't go through the nitty gritty, but mature romance about the path not taken, a book talk, breakout reverse harem hockey romance. I know hockey romance is still having its moment, an epic romantasy series, and finally a workplace romantic comedy about a private chef and her A-lister client. Next slide. I mentioned this book in a couple of presentations, but I just wanted to remind everybody that it's coming. I have one galley of it. I've been using it as an armrest because it's quite the brick. So if you want, you got to email me right now. The Calamity Club is the newest book in 17 years from Kitty Stockett. You'll recognize her name as the best-selling author of The Help. That was a long time ago. She was really, really young when she wrote a book that kind of skyrocketed her to international fame. And so she's taken some time and has returned with a second mature novel. It's set in 1930s Mississippi and looks at a group of women of different backgrounds and generations. The youngest one is an 11-year-old orphan that are struggling to decide their own freedoms and futures in a time and place where those things are restricted, to say the very least. Next slide. This is another one that I've mentioned in some presentations, but I just really like saying this title, Kill Dick. And I also like getting to mention Luke's famous wife, Otessa Moshfegh. It's so rare that we get to identify men by the women that they're married to, so I like to relish that opportunity. This is a true literary thriller about a scammer and a kind of scam-adjacent college dropout. It's set in this neon splash, seedy underbelly of LA. Think like Bret Easton Ellis, Eve Babbitt's LA, plus a little bit of like a Get Shorty or an Elmer Leonard kind of satire. Next slide, please. Kind of just in time for this like renaissance of Frankenstein movies is a novel that reimagines the summer that Mary Shelley wrote her famous novel, but it's actually Mary's sister Claire who is our hero in Love and Other Monsters. Claire is impressionable, she's fiercely loyal, and she, like many of us, is obsessed with novels, and that obsession will give her some interesting ideas that I'm sure we can all relate to. But that love of novels, particularly of Jane Austen, inspires her to seek what will ultimately become quite an ill-fated romance with the great Lord Byron. This relationship, like I alluded to, it's not a good one. I can't get into all the details, but this is a true story. I would highly recommend just skimming the Wikipedia page. It's pretty wild. The novel explores ideas about the desire to create, the role that novels and reading have in our lives, and the excitement and atmosphere of this progressive time in the 19th century. Next slide. This one is maybe my hardest to describe. Sailor Moon meets a giant robot. They fall in love. They almost destroy their respective universes. It's a dash of like Paradise Logic by Sophie Kemp, something really off the wall, maybe some Helen DeWitt, or like it's got this really inventive text layout that has colors and symbols, but also Sex in the City. It's an epic sci-fi literary romantasy, and it's a really great one for any queer and experimental book clubs that aren't afraid to get a little bit weird. Next slide. Okay, I promise I did not just pick this one because it has an amazing title. I think horror fans are going to freak out about this. It's a collection of horror stories, kind of like these modern horror fairy tales. But these are not just like simple retellings of stories you've already heard. These are original stories that take inspiration from Silverman's Italian heritage, her interest in true crime, and her neurodivergent disabled feminism. Next slide. I'm going to finish with Don't Stop. If you love Deborah Levy, Miranda July, maybe someone already referenced Taffy Bryce, her actor, so I'm not going to say her. But any of these kind of modern women writing about adult mature women's desires, this is an absolute must read. Ina is a professor. She's in a good marriage. She's got an amazing job, and she kind of derails it all after this unexpected romantic encounter with a stranger. She claims it's just research, but it quickly becomes obsession as she seeks out the desires that she's left unexplored. Maybe she's repressed for her entire life. You probably know Europa as being Elena Ferrante's publisher, but Bonnie is not a pseudonym. This is a real person who will appear in person and talk to people. She's based in the US, so we're really excited to have her be available for touring and for events and all that excitement. Next slide, please. That is it for me. I'll leave this slide up so you can take a screenshot if you want books, if you want to know more, if you want to join our little match program, if you want to complain about something that you don't like. There's my email. You could do it all there. Thank you so much, and I will let our next presenter go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Luby, Associate Director of School and Library Marketing at Abrams. I'm thrilled to be here to share some highlights from our Spring 2026 list. You can also view the full catalog at the bit.ly link here and on Edelweiss. I just dropped the links in the chat too. And since this is my first ever ALMA Book Buzz, and thank you for having me, I wanted to give you a quick overview of everything Abrams has to offer to your collections. We have something for every reader, from adult fiction to nonfiction, cookbooks, art and photography, fashion, crafting, and more. And our special focus at Abrams is the art of books, with the goal of designing beautiful books with the highest production value. So let's get started with adult nonfiction and fiction. In Everyday Genius, six-time USA memory champion Nelson Dellis makes a powerful case that an exceptional memory isn't something you're born with, it's something you can build, which is good news for us people with bad memories. In his signature accessible and encouraging voice, Dellis breaks down techniques like memory palaces, speed reading, and deep focus into clear, practical steps that work in everyday life. On the next slide, you can see some of the interiors from the book. These aren't party tricks. They're tools readers can use to remember names, retain what they read, give presentations with confidence, and learn new skills faster. Next slide. This info will be especially helpful to readers who feel overwhelmed by information or worry about declining focus and memory as they age. Dallas shows how training attention can improve learning and mental confidence at any age. Next, Elegy in Blue is the new novel from New York Times bestselling author Mark Helprin. This new novel is right in his sweet spot, blending history and moving prose in an atmospheric story of love and loss honor and violence, regret and memory, all told in a powerful first-person voice. The story follows an 82-year-old narrator looking out over Brooklyn toward the sea, reflecting on a life shaped by World War II, his career on Wall Street, and generations of family history. His career is now ruined, his mansion burned to the ground, and the people he loved the most, his father, son, and his wife, are all gone. His allegiance, he says now, is to the ghosts. But when an act of violence threatens another family, he's drawn back into the real world in a final act of moral reckoning. Elegy in Blue is a hymn to New York City and an excellent recommendation for readers of literary fiction, sweeping historical sagas, and Jewish family stories. Next, biographer Joshua Kendall's Trudeau and Doonesbury is the definitive account of the life and work of Gary Trudeau, the cartoonist whose long-running, wildly influential, and much-beloved Doonesbury helped define the baby boomer generation, reinvent political satire, drive the public conversation, and expand the scope of comics. Joshua Kendall did an incredible amount of research for this book in Trudeau's archives at Yale and conducted dozens of interviews with fellow journalists, fellow cartoonists, mocked politicians, and the famously press-shy Trudeau himself. Next slide. And the book will be visually stunning, of course. It's illustrated throughout with 220 full-color images, including Sunday color strips, daily black and white cartoons, as well as documents, notes, letter, and ephemera from the archives. Next slide. Doonesbury has long been hugely popular, and this is an essential read for anyone who has loved this cartoon or is interested in learning more about political satire, history, and cartooning. Next, let's take a look at one of our beautiful art and photography books. The Marilyn Monroe Century is a tribute to one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century, an essential volume timed to commemorate what would have been Marilyn Monroe's 100th birthday on June 1st, 2026. The Marilyn Monroe Century features the work of Hollywood photographer Bruno Bernard, and one of the few people who knew Monroe both professionally and personally. He photographed her at pivotal moments in her career and captured many of her most enduring images, including the iconic photograph of the dress blowing up, as you can see on the cover. And this will actually be a lenticular image on the cover, recreating this iconic moment and showing the movement of the skirt in a stunning package. Next slide. This book brings together exclusive, never-before photographs of Marilyn and personal excerpts from Bernard's diaries, creating an intimate portrait of Monroe as she evolved from Norma Jean into a global icon. Next slide. This is Marilyn through the eyes of someone who spent real time with her and understood the complexity behind her image. And next slide. This is co-written by Bernard's grandson, and the writers are closely collaborating with Marilyn Monroe's estate and are directly involved with 3 major international art exhibitions planned for 2026 in Los Angeles, London, and Paris. Next, speaking of Hollywood glam, let's talk about bringing some glam to your crafting collections. For all your sewing enthusiasts, celebrated sewing expert Gretchen Hirsch is back with Gertie Sews Glam Knits. Gertie shows sewers how they can transform knits and stretch fabrics into glamorous vintage looks inspired by Coco Chanel, Claire McCardell, Madame Gress, and more. Next slide. Here's the thing about knits. They are drapey and flattering, but the fabrics are notoriously hard to sew, and there are very few good books about sewing them. But Gertie breaks it down into accessible steps. Next slide. Her popular pattern line, Charm Patterns, Gertie has a proven track record of producing patterns that sewists love to make. And the ranges of sizes offered in the book from 2 to 20 and 18 to 34 is one of the most inclusive in the industry. The detailed library of techniques and stylish customizable patterns make this the reference book for sewing knit garments. Finally, I want to give you a taste of our spring 2026 cookbooks. Just in time for summer barbecue season, we have New School Barbecue. Evan Leroy started with just a tiny food truck outside of Austin, and today he runs one of the first Michelin-starred barbecue joints in the U.S., Leroy and Lewis. Evan's bold, boundary-pushing approach to barbecue makes it one of the hottest places to eat in Austin right now. New School Barbecue shows how barbecue is not just a technique, it is a technique, and it's not just about a menu. It's not just smoked meats. It shows how unexpected ingredients and cuisines can benefit from his barbecue treatment. And he has irresistible recipes in the book like pastrami spiced burnt ends, barbacoa stuffed avocados, and smoked banana pudding. This is a book that balances innovation and accessibility from crowd-pleasing classics like brisket to faster flavor-packed alternatives like Evan's signature smoked beef cheek that takes a fraction of the time as brisket but tastes just as good. Yum. And finally, if barbecue is not your thing, I forgot to show you the insides. Look at those delicious food. I love banana pudding. But if barbecue is not your thing, we also have the 29-minute vegan. The vegan queen, Isa Chandra Moskowitz, is back with fast, reliable recipes that are designed with time-strapped home cooks in mind. This book is packed with solid recipes and Isa's signature sense of humor. The recipes are practical, time-saving, and delicious for busy people who also want to eat more plant-based foods. featuring delicious recipes from everything from tacos to sandwiches to curries and fast falafel. This is absolutely one you need to add to your cooking collections. And on the next slides, you'll see some delicious shots from inside the book of tacos, and on the next page, some delicious sandwiches. And finally, on the last slide, you can find my info. That's all from me today. Be sure to check out our full catalog online and reach out to me with any questions. Thank you so much for listening. And now over to Margot at Macmillan.
Hi everyone, I'm Margot McCoy with Macmillan. Here are all of the ways that you can get in touch with us online. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about any of the books I'm talking about today. Next slide. Many of the titles that we'll be talking about today already are or will be available to read on Edelweiss, so if you're not already whitelisted for automatic downloads, send us an email at the address on the screen and we will get you all set up. Next slide. Next slide. And please feel free to join us on Mondays at 4 p.m. for our Happy Half Hour series, where we talk about all of the upcoming books we're excited about. And next slide. And be sure to check out our big book club resource guide, where you can stay up to date with book club news, sweepstakes, discussion guides, and more. And now on to the books. So first up is Seek Immediate Shelter by Vincent Yu. This is an emotionally charged debut inspired by the 2018 false missile crisis in Hawaii, transplanting the high-stakes premise to an Asian American community in Massachusetts. It is an otherwise unremarkable morning when the residents of a small town all receive the same alert. Ballistic missile threat inbound. Seek immediate shelter. In this fight or flight situation, their truest selves are revealed. Russ squeezes his family into the bathtub, leaving his own survival in question. Nina sends an unforgivable text to her daughter. Millie confesses her unrequited love, and David hits the gas, speeding away from his wife and child. This novel explores survival, hope, and second chances through a deeply human ensemble. Next. Next is... Oh, where did it go? Oh, goodness, sorry. Oh my goodness, so sorry. Where did it go? Oh, at 77, Pepper Mills didn't choose the Vista View retirement community, but she did find new friends and a surprising late life love. When symptoms she fears are terminal lead to a shocking diagnosis, she's pregnant, Pepper's life turns into a national spectacle. As press activists and medical researchers descend on Vista View, Pepper is forced to navigate the hard decisions she must make and the ones she's not allowed to make. Enormous Wings is an urgent novel of female agency and bodily autonomy, morality and mortality, and the complexities of motherhood when the world decides you're no longer in control. Next is Death's Daughter by S.A. Barnes. S.A. Barnes is the author of Library Reads picks and sci-fi adventures like Cold Eternity and Ghost Station. After dominating the space horror world, she's returning to her steamier roots with this dark gothic paranormal romance. This is a mix of dark academia and steamy mythology of neon gods, featuring a morally gray character, the Daughter of Death, a haunted college campus setting, enemies to lovers, and a dynamic love triangle ripe with sexual tension that will have readers obsessed. If that sounds as exciting to you as it does to me, you can hear more about it from the author herself. She'll be speaking during our spring 2026 preview next week, so I will leave the link to register in the chat. Next slide is Soon by You by Dahlia Adler. This is 27 Dresses meets the intimacy experiment in this sexy, emotional, opposites attract rom-com set in New York City's modern Orthodox community. Burned out by constant bridesmaid duties and feeling like an outsider in her community, Ariel is officially burned out on romance. But after a literal run-in with Judah, the tri-state area's most in-demand wedding singer and eligible bachelor, who's giving up on his own happily ever after, their heated bickering turns into a passionate connection. Judah can finally get on board with romance, but Ariel has no interest in settling down, especially not with a man who has a reputation to uphold. But when neither can move on, they must decide if their relationship is worth rewriting their futures for. Next slide. Next is Sublimation by Isabel J. Kim. This is a debut for fans of Severance, set in a world where the border cuts you in two. When you immigrate, you leave a copy of yourself behind. One person enters their new country and the other stays trapped at home. Some instances keep in touch and sync in hopes of one day resuming a life as one. Others, like Seong Rose Kang, leave home and never speak to their other selves again. Rose, in America, never imagined going back to Korea until her Korean instance calls her home for her grandfather's funeral, but she doesn't know that Seong plans to steal her body and life. The author was born in America to Korean parents and returned to Korea when she was a baby, then re-immigrated to California, and then back to Korea, and then settled in New Jersey, so the experiences of her characters are beautiful, devastating, and authentic. Next slide. Next up is Marion by Leah Rowan. What if instead of being killed by Norm in that seedy motel, the leading lady had fought back? This is a brilliant subversive twist on Hitchcock's Psycho that offers an alternative history of one of the most famous dead blonde to ever grace the silver screen. Only this time, the knife is in her hands, and she's no victim. Marion kills Norm and becomes a woman on the run. This is a propulsive crime spree with a fierce feminist edge. Next slide. Next is Heather by Caitlin Mullen. This is a small town detective that reopens an unsolved case from 1994. The story connects the disappearance of the two sisters in the myth-riddled woods of the New Jersey Pine Barrens in 1994 to the modern-day investigation, weaving together the past and present and exploring the secrets and difficult choices that have been passed down through generations of women in this small town. It's a propulsive mystery as incisive as it is forgiving and is a must-read for Liz Moore's The God of the Woods. Next slide. Next is Hot Girl Murder Club by Ashley Winstead. 10 years after her sister Georgia's mysterious death at a Hollywood party, aspiring singer-actress Scout has done her best to honor her memory, clawing her way through the cutthroat industry. But when a slew of murders in LA point to Scout as the killer, she turns from a mid-tier pop star to the world's most famous alleged murderer. To save her career and find justice for Georgia, she must prove her innocence, all while a young detective begins to unearth secrets connecting Georgia's death to an old pattern of crimes in Hollywood. This book centers around the collective power of women fighting against a system that seeks to silence them, with a protagonist you will root for. Next slide. And next up is Queen Mab by Emily McBride. After a traumatic birth, Madeline, a promising young grad student, becomes convinced that her daughter may have been swapped for a fairy child with insatiable hunger and glinting eyes. While her husband urges her to connect with other moms, Madeline is consumed by violent visions, a lack of maternal love, and the terrifying possibility that it might actually be her who was replaced. And if she was swapped, how will she find her way back? This debut is a riveting portrait of madness, motherhood, and the expectations placed on women. Next slide. And then we have The Divine Gardener's Handbook by Eli Snow. This is a joyful science fantasy adult debut about love, ambition, and toxic work culture for fans of Tamsin Muir and Rebecca Thorne. A gardener dreams of a job in the divine gardens, tending to the plants overseen by God. Her only way in is to an annual flower pageant, one that's been dominated by the divine gardener's head gardener for years. When she plays dirty and wins, she jumped headfirst into the gardens and her rivalry with the head gardener, who she can't stop thinking about. Pranks, backstabbing, and heated glaring unite them until they're both drawn into a plot to take down God, who's really just some guy with a great garden. Okay, next slide. And that is it from me. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you've enjoyed these books.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Casserly from Blackstone Publishing. Thank you for joining us today to hear about our upcoming books. First, we have K-Pop Academy. This family-friendly new middle grade series is perfect for fans who are obsessed with the K-pop Demon Hunters movie. The series offers a welcome return to the spotlight with a fresh new friend group of soul-searching, demon-fighting performers. Book 1 is available in audio now with more to follow. Next, we have The Dud Avocado by Elaine Dundee. This is a smart, funny classic about a young and beautiful American woman who moves to Paris, determined to live life to the fullest, perfect for fans of Emily in Paris. It's the 1950s. Sally is young in Paris and set on living large with wild nights and wilder affairs. Will she be forced back to the US to become a librarian, or can she keep up her whirlwind existence? Charming, sexy, and hilarious, The Dead Avocado gained instant cult status when it was first published, and it remains a timeless portrait of a woman hell-bent on living. We're excited to be able to bring the novel to a new generation, and it will be releasing in audio in March. Moving on to our all formats titles, we have La Lucci by Susan Lucci. The moving follow-up to Susan's New York Times bestseller, All My Life, this stunning new memoir celebrates love, friendships, the wonder of family, parenting and grandparenting, the magic of theater, fulfilled dreams, freshly baked apples, alpine cheese, home renovations, modern medicine, faith, miracles large and small, mending one's heart, and much more. While Erica Kane, Susan's character on the daytime drama All My Children, married 11 times during her 41 years on the air, Susan married only once, to the love of her life, Helmut Huber. When Helmut passed away unexpectedly in 2022, she faced one of the greatest challenges of her life, overcoming grief and striving to live with hope and joy again while honoring her memories. This is an inspiring book written with profound gratitude. Next, we have Inharmonious by Tammy Huff. This is a moving love story inspired by the author's own family history, set in the segregated South during and after World War II. When three young Black men enlist in the U.S. Army, hoping to serve their country with honor, their lives are forever changed. Booklist Starred Review praised the book's compelling and layered narrative. It will appeal to fans of Kristen Hanna's The Women and Britt Bennett's The Vanishing Half, readers of World War II fiction, and it's perfect for book clubs. Next, we have Nightmare on Nightmare Street by R.L. Stine. This is another family-friendly title from the master of spine-tingling horror for young audiences. Nightmare on Nightmare Street is full of strange sounds, terrifying visions, and things that go bump in the night. R.L. Stine is one of the best-selling children's authors in history. His Goosebumps and Fear Street series have sold more than 400 million copies around the world. He's being discovered by a new generation. Kirkus Reviews praised this new standalone as another reliably eerie outing from the master of Under the Sheets reading. Next, we have Murder at 30,000 Feet by Susan Walter. Passion, betrayal, and murder collide in this cinematic high-stakes mystery. On a nonstop flight to Puerto Rico, a lightning strike plunges a plane into darkness. When the lights come back on, a passenger is found murdered. With no way to escape, the killer must still be on the plane. New York Times bestselling author Greg Hurwitz described the thriller as a riveting, locked-roomed mystery at high altitude. It's a must-read for fans of T.J. Newman and Geneva Rose. Next, we have Six Little Words by Sally Page. From the author of the phenomenal bestsellers The Keeper of Stories and The Book of Beginnings comes another novel that will warm your heart. Kate gave up being a painter years ago. Barty is grappling with writer's block. They discover a local community group encouraging people to rediscover their creative spark and the long-lost courage to chase it. Booklist said Page's charming slice-of-life drama is told with humor and pathos, perfect for anyone who aspires to be a little more creative. For fans of Frederick Bachman's A Man Called Ave or Lucy Gilmore's The Lonely Hearts Book Club. And finally, there is all of our contact information, our social links. Please reach out for review copies, or if you have any questions, you can always visit us at blackstonelibrary.com for all of our Blackstone Publishing titles and even more titles in audio. Thanks again for your time.
Hey everyone, I'm Rudy Martinez from Soho Press. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right into it. So, first up is a crime series debut translated from German. This is Murder Mindfully by Carsten Dusa. So, this series follows a shady defense lawyer named Bjorn Diemel, who's been spread thin by his demanding job, and he's been given this ultimatum by his wife. He can either repair his wildly unhealthy work-life balance, or she's going to leave him. She's going to take their daughter with her. So he reluctantly decides to take this mindfulness course, and to his surprise, it's this major revelation. He's calmer, he's happier, he's more focused. He starts to understand what's really important in life. But when his worst client forces his way back into Bjorn's life and disrupts this precious family time, Bjorn decides he'll stop at nothing, not even killing, to protect his peace, and his newfound practice makes this frightening, violent stuff that he believes that he has to do much easier. This is a rollicking, dark comedy thriller, but it's also a handy guide to checking in with your own mind and body. It's peppered with practical mindfulness techniques, but we definitely do not endorse using any newfound calmness or mental clarity to commit felonies. Hand this one to fans of Richard Osman, Benjamin Steven, Mick Herron, anyone who enjoyed the HBO show Barry. That's Murder Mindfully by Carsten Dusa. Next. Okay, we've got new historical mystery from Sujata Massey and her Perveen mystery series set in 1920s India. This is The Star from Calcutta. So as ever, Sujata has delivered richly detailed, meticulously researched historical mystery starring India's first female solicitor. So this novel finds our protagonist, Perveen, working on behalf of India's biggest silent film star, a woman who's called Rokana, in an era that came just before Bollywood, as she attempts to disentangle her family's film company from a studio contract in which her talent is the most important part of the deal. So as Perveen digs into Rokana's glamorous world, she finds herself in the audience of this screening of a big budget new film with her best friend friend Alice, who's a big film buff. But as the event comes to a close, a prominent film critic is found dead, and Rokana has disappeared. So now Perveen has this different obligation to her clients to protect them in the face of what appears to be a murder case. So Perveen begins to investigate, and what she finds is this web of blackmail and deceit and affairs. And perhaps worst of all, her friend Alice seems to be keeping a secret about the night of the murder. This series, which began with a book called The Widows of Malabar Hill, has only gotten better. This outing is suffused with glitz and charm of old Indian cinema. It's a must read for anyone who's already familiar with the series, but also readers of historical mysteries in general. Think Kate Quinn, Charles Todd, Laurie King, Jackie Winspear. That's The Star from Calcutta by Sujata Massey. Next. All right, The Great Houses of Pill Hill by Diane Josefowitz. This is one of my very favorites from the first half of 2026. It follows a woman named Hannah Cookie Cook. She's an artist. She's this visionary interior designer with a sideline of making diorama reproductions of crime scenes to assist her local police department. We meet her as she's just beginning to work on the restoration of this sprawling historical mansion for a wealthy couple in a fictional New England town called New Preston. But things get complicated when she begins to have an affair with one of her new clients, Chuck, and even more complicated when Chuck is murdered at this spectacular housewarming party celebrating the renovation's completion. The homicide detective who's working the case brings Cookie on to design one of her dioramas of this house that she's become so familiar with, and she can't help but get sucked in to the details of this murder. I love a locked room mystery, and this is a really fun, tricky one, but it's Cookie's voice that makes this a standout. She's clever and bold and jealous and petty and really funny, and she's someone you'll want to spend more time with. And as a bonus, you also get these very genuine HGTV home transformation vibes. So come for the mystery, stay for the wallpaper and tile choices. Give this one to fans of Ruth Ware, Louise Hegarty, Anthony Horowitz. That's The Great Houses of Pill Hill by Diane Josefowitz. Let's go to the next one. Finally, a title from our press literary list, Absence by Andrew Dana Hudson. This speculative literary debut is set in a world where people have begun to spontaneously pop or disappear from existence. It's happening globally. It's not happening all at once in this slowly sort of unfolding phenomenon that becomes known as spontaneous human absence. It's in this hopeless, increasingly fragmented, increasingly cultish and paranoid world that we meet two agents from the Bureau of Depopulation Affairs who are dispatched to Kansas to investigate the case of a woman claiming to have returned from absence. So this inquiry of theirs circles around this central question. Is there a chance for those who have been lost to return, or is this woman a false prophet preying on a world in this never-ending cycle of grief and loss? The result is a novel that contends with what is probably the most confounding aspect of being alive, dying, and what death on a massive scale could mean when it can't be explained. It's gripping, it's surprisingly funny in its approach to the bureaucracy of death, and it's legitimately touching. Give this one to readers of Jeff Vandermeer, Tom Perrotta, Ben Winters, and Jin Woo Chong. That's Absence by Andrew Dana Hudson. I'm Rudy from Soho Press. That's all I have for today. I'll pass it off to Kelly Coyle at PRH.
Hold on. Hi, sorry, I think I'm good. Hi, Rudy. That was nice to see you. The Sujata Massey cover is beautiful. And it's really nice to see everybody today. Thank you for joining us. Next slide. So we wanted to get you to prepare yourselves for reading in 2026. So we have a fun blog post about 26 books to read in 2026, and there's also a raffle along with it. So we invite you to join it. The 10 URL is on the screen, and you can also find it by going to our blog at penguinrandomhouselibrary.com. Next slide. And our brand new book club brochure is about ready, and we know that you get great suggestions from here. And we will have it live at some of our upcoming in-person conferences, but as of right now, you can find it online, and we are happy to bring you a new installment of this one. Next slide. And we have a fun wellness webinar. We've done this one for the last couple of years with some of our client publishers like North Atlantic Books, Hay House, Barrett Kohler, Shambhala. And this is a wellness webinar talking about books to get you healthy and relaxed in 2026 because according to everyone I know, 2025 was not that easy, and we're hoping for a nice easier 2026. So hopefully you'll join us for this wellness webinar with Booklist. Next slide. And just to let you know, we are really excited to bring you another year of Morning Book Buzz. We can't believe that it's going to be another season. I think it's our 6th season of it. And it's going to be tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. And we hope you will join us for our hour-long celebration of what books are to come. And we always love meeting with you on Morning Book Buzz. It's one of our favorite things to do. And we've really appreciated how dedicated you've all been to this installment of our show. So yes, we hope you join us tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for our new season, seventh season, sorry, of Morning Book Buzz. Unbelievable, which means we're all getting older very fast. So, all right, next. All right, so we just have a couple of books to talk to you about today. And as always, if you need us, you can reach us at library@penguinrandomhouse.com. We are thrilled that we are working now with Zando as a distribution client, and SJP Lit is one of their imprints, and we're so excited to bring you The Radiant Dark by Alexandra Olivia for readers of Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, Remarkably Bright Creatures, and The Ministry of Time. All 3 of those books have been 3 of my favorites, so this one we are thrilled to bring to you in April, and this is Arrival meets Wild Dark Shore in this captivating novel that follows a family over 50 years, a bold and compassionate exploration of the universe around us and what it truly means to be human. The Radiant Dark is incandescent, says SJP. So we love her book choices, and we know that you will also appreciate this one, perfect for book clubs. It's March of 1980, and Carol Gerard and her husband are living an ordinary life in small-town Adirondacks. They have just had their first child, and though Carol is struggling with the challenges of new motherhood, her future seems clear until something extraordinary happens, an inexplicable flickering of light in the sky, which is ultimately determined to be communication from intelligent life on another planet. But these beings are 11 light years away, and nothing is known about them other than the fact that they seem to know we exist too. And so begins a decades-long exchange of messages with this mysterious, faraway civilization. Tracing 5 decades of love, loss, ambition, and self-discovery, The Radiant Dark is a stunning examination of a family navigating their lives with the knowledge that we are not alone. Next. Who doesn't want to see a new Matt Haig book? How exciting. No introduction is needed, but The Midnight Train. When your life flashes before your eyes, where would you stop? No one can change the past, but the midnight train can take you there. The chance to relive the moments that meant most, to see what kind of person you really were. For Wilbur, his best days were with Maggie, the love of his life, on his honeymoon in Venice, before he gave it all away. He wishes he could go back and live differently, but to do so risks everything. A magical, time-traveling love story from the world of the Midnight Library. I honestly get choked up every time I read about this book. I cannot wait to read it. Next is Villa Coco. What a beautiful cover this is. It just makes you want to go on vacation. Auntie May Meets Under the Tuscan Sun. It's from Pulitzer Prize winner Andrew Sean Greer. A great chronicler of our time, says the San Francisco Chronicle about him. This showcases his wit, his sophistication, and deep knowledge of focaccia in this magical and madcap tale of a young man who takes an unspecified job with a charismatic elderly baronessa at her crumbling villa in the Tuscan hills. It's told with his signature wit, insight, and deeply felt humanity that made Less an international phenomena. Villa Coco is a dazzling, sun-soaked ode to life itself, a romp through a youthfully self-constructed emotional obstacle course, a meditation on what we give and take from others, and a bawdy Mediterranean ballad about becoming who you've always wanted to become. And lastly, This Immortal Heart, for fans of Greek mythology retellings, which we know are a lot of your patrons. This is an epic, captivating tale of Aphrodite, the goddess of love, who must reconcile her heart and mind when she is drawn against all odds. Ares, the god of war, from the international bestseller, author of Ariadne and Hera. It's a first edition in a stunning hardcover with gorgeous end papers and stamped case. So they're not waiting to make this one a deluxe edition. They're just going right out deluxe. From the moment Aphrodite emerges fully formed from the sea, she is devastatingly beautiful and imbued with ancient power, driven by passion yet strategic in how she moves through the halls of Olympus and the earthly realm alike. The free-willed goddess wields unparalleled influence over every living being. When fate brings her face to face with Ares, she bristles at this surly, hot-tempered warrior who seemingly her opposite, disliked by everyone and devoted to stirring up conflict. Yet these gods are no more immune to the dizzying highs and lows of love and loss than anyone else, and soon they are irresistibly drawn to one another. As their affair spans mortal lifetimes, Aphrodite begins to question the gods' games and her role in them. But there's only so much room for fire and passion in Zeus's kingdom. Before long, she must test her devotion to her own divine purpose and to a love that can only lead to ruin. How fun. All right. Thank you very much for having me today. As you can see, we've got all of this information for you on the screen with all of our titles, and we hope you will reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm Deb Seeger from Grove Atlantic, and I'm going to tell you about a few books. Next slide. And just here's a kind of a highlight of what's came out late fall and early winter. Hope you all saw the great review in the New York Times for The Hitch yesterday. Next slide. So I'm going to tell you about some winter and spring books. Jen Phillips' Ruby Falls. It's a historical mystery that has already received starred reviews from Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, and rave blurbs from Abbott Collar and Hank Philippi Ryan. Just outside Chattanooga is a real natural wonder called Ruby Falls, which is where Phillips begins her mystery, set during the Great Depression. It's tough times. No one's coming to visit the 150-foot waterfall in the middle of the mountain, but a shrewd public relations ploy seems like the only way to save their tourist attraction. A famous mind reader and mystic agrees to launch himself into the fall's caverns, where he'll attempt to locate a hat pin, using only his psychic abilities. He'll be joined by 5 others, his manager, his wife, a guide, a businessman, and a reporter from the Chicago Times. One of them will be dead before the end of the day. Ruby Falls is both a unique twist on the locked room mystery and a heart-racing story of her survival and a testament to the threads that bind strangers together. We hope that you have enjoyed this and that you will nominate it for Library Reads. Next slide. And I love this novel so much. From the poet Stephanie Sakita comes her debut, A Private Man. The novel is inspired by her grandparents' courtship and marriage. It traces the story between a Catholic priest and a progressive theology teacher across the 50s and 60s through Rome and England. This is when there was like the first attempt to try to bring more women into the church, which they're still trying to do today. We learn their story while the young teacher, now in the throes of dementia, tells her story to her college-bound grandson, who is delayed going to school to care for her. There's also these beautiful moments of just really end-of-life care between this grandson and grandmother. You'll see the foreboding love arc will remind you a little bit of Fleabag, but it's really more of a nod to the literary writers like Louise Kennedy, Alice McDermott, and Claire Massoud. Next slide. And hopefully I don't need to introduce you to Douglas Stewart. He is the author of Shuggie Bain, which won the Booker Prize and the Sue Kaufman Prize amongst and finalists for many other novels. Awards. His second novel, Young Mungo, was also highly acclaimed, and now he returns with John of John, and he has done it again. We already have a starred Kirkus review. The novel has been named one of the most anticipated books for the spring from the likes of PW, Kirkus, the Times, the Washington Post, USA Today, O Magazine, and we have incredible blurbs from Ann Patchett, Lauren Groff, Colm Toybeen, Abraham Verghese, and Min Jin Lee. Jonna John takes readers away from the streets of Glasgow and tells a vivid, moving novel tale that follows a young man returning to his closeted Scottish homeland. It's a portrait of a father's expectations and a son's desires. Next slide. And for those of you in New York, you may, Tiffany Hansen is maybe a familiar name. You can hear her on WNYC's as host of Weekend All Things Considered. But in May, Atlantic Crime will publish her debut, My Name Was Jerry Sass. Jerry is not who he appears to be. On the surface, he is the proud owner of a local country music station outside of Mystic, Iowa. Beneath it, he's a mob-connected hitman who launders money through the radio station. One morning, a pair of hitmen catch up with him. From there, everything goes haywire. His 20-something daughter, Early, and his friend, Father Dan, are both out for revenge in their own ways. Hansen takes us on a cross-state chase through Iowa and Illinois. Some compare this book to Sopranos, but I really see it more as more like The Gentleman, where you have a bunch of misfits on the loose and one very deceitful criminal speaking from the dead. I really think that it's a great mystery, but it's really more about the characters. Next slide. Alex Starlett is the author of 2 other novels, including We Germans. His new novel, Drayton Mackenzie, is a big social novel, akin to Tom Wolfe's Bonfire of the Vanities. It's about 2 men who go to university together, but could not be more different. They soon find themselves friends for life. After a brief time at McKinsey, they start their own energy company in the outer islands of Scotland. You can see the comps here on the cover. The Sunday Times rave. Picture Great Expectation meets The Big Short. It's in it. The Financial Times says, and then it's exciting rags to riches adventure and a deeply moving story of male friendship. A novel has not done so well since Michael Chabon's friendship epic, The Amazing Adventures of Calvin, Lear, and Clay. This is one of only 3 novels in the last 15 years that has been nominated for the Financial Times Business Award. The other 2 were Then We Came to the End by Joshua Ferris and Union Atlantic by Adam Hazlitt. Next slide. Next slide. And just a quick shout out for one of my favorite writers, Lauren Acampora, for her second short story collection, The Animal Room. As in Acampora's debut, The Wonder Garden, The Animal Room delves deep into the town of Old Cranberry, Connecticut, and its eclectic mix of residents. Incisive and moving, these stories chart the interconnected lives of neighbors, relatives, co-workers, enemies, lovers, and the animals around them, turning an unflinching eye to the natural world to shed light on human nature. We have a great reviews also for this from Michael Cunningham, which you can see, and Mona Awad. I think that's it. And I'm going to hand it over to Lynette at Chronicle.
Thank you, Deb. Hi, guys. I'm Lynette. I'm happy to be with you all today. We're almost there. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to jump right in, starting with next slide. We're going to start with some cake. So I know I've been teasing this one for a while. I am happy to have some more sweet details to share with you. Cake Picnic, as a reminder, started with a few friends getting together in a park on a sunny day and sharing cake. Well, founder Elisa Sunga has taken her now viral joy-filled cake picnics on the road with her global cake tours. Next slide. There's only one rule at Cake Picnic: no cake, no entry. This beautiful book is both a how-to guide and a recipe collection, and it tells you everything you need to know to host your own decadent picnics, including prepping your guests, encouraging connection, tips to transport whole cakes, and more. Next slide. My favorite thing is that the 50 recipes are organized by party theme, from afternoon tea picnics to beach picnics and even a salty sweet or confetti cake picnic. So not only is there something to tempt any sweet tooth, there's lots here to flex your creativity, as is true of the best cookbooks. Next slide. And the Madman's Orchestra, just a reminder, you can go backstage with author Edward Brooke Hitching as he takes readers on a bizarre tour of the weirdest stories in the history of music. Next slide. The Madman's Orchestra is a sort of Ripley's Believe It or Not of curious tales, madcap musicians, and unusual instruments lost in time, all the way up to the future of AI compositions. Next slide. There's even a playlist of obscure music, perfect for those who love a more underrated bop. Next slide. And we're getting into something old and something new. So you all might remember the classic little golden book, The Monster at the End of the Street. Well, Grover's back, and we've teamed up with Sesame Street to bring you a follow-up with a twist. Next slide. So this one is for all the momsters out there. Next slide. What is a momster, you ask? Grover doesn't know, but he and his friends are determined to find out. This perfect read aloud is packed with nostalgia, humor, and heart. Kids will love turning each page to discover familiar friends and, next slide, their grown-up friends will love finding momsters in also relatable situations. I know you guys were wondering why I brought this book up. There really is no one better to celebrate the love, chaos, and magic of motherhood than these childhood icons. So speaking of relatable, next slide. I have a question. Has anyone seen my hormones? Ladies, are you feeling forever young-ish? Why hasn't anyone invented cool yoga yet? Sure. Everyone's talking about menopause. Next slide. But not enough people talk about the wisdom and rewards of middle age. But never fear, anti-agers, here. We think your menopause book collections can be rounded out with some sarcasm, sympathy, and a whole lot of salty humor. Next slide. You can look out for this one in March, just in time for Mother's Day. Next slide. But not to overlook the dads, we have a few books to add to your Father's Day collections. We've got 2 dad jokes, including the perfectly cringeworthy book with a title that doesn't lie, Dad Jokes, and the follow-up to Star Wars Dad Jokes, which is aptly called Dad Jokes Strike Back. And then there is Dad Bod. These are 30 playful, very real exercises from online fitness coach and dad Oliver Brooks. So you can include infants in your workouts, like the overhead bundle press, raspberry knee tucks, and so much more. Next slide. We've also got 2 very cool sportswear books this season. Threads of Triumph spotlights 50 global icons of wrestling, including Macho Man Randy Savage, The Rock, The Undertaker, Ric Flair, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, just to name a few. It's told through the lens of the iconic gear that helped define both them and the wide world of wrestling as we know it. And just in time for the World Cup, the Ultimate Soccer Jersey Collection tells the story of soccer and fan culture through every jersey you need to know, including iconic shirts and famous collabs. You'll find a whopping 310 color photos and essays from former New York Times chief soccer correspondent Rory Smith. Next slide. So our library marketing coordinator, Reg, loves pretend to be fancy. This is a modern book of etiquette. And when I say modern, one of the first tips you'll see in the book is how to treat people in customer service, which is sorely needed with kids these days, as Reg says. We both think it should be read by everyone, young and old. Awaken Your Myth is 6 steps to discover a life of peace and purpose from Eric Ireland, host of the podcast Listen to Sleep. Our team adores Eric. He calls himself Queer Mountain Grandpa and looks like Gandalf, all of which honestly is kind of on brand and I love. Next slide. So Swiftographics takes you on a visual journey of infographics and graphic art through the global sensation that is Taylor Swift. For instance, my favorite fact, when Taylor first appeared at a Chiefs game, Travis Kelce jerseys saw a jump in sale by 400% that day. Just let that sink in for a little bit. Agatha Christie fans, we've got a grown-ups they can find book of clues and criminals across 20 classic Agatha Christie mysteries. And The Beatles by Jim Marshall, the ultimate rock and roll photographer, takes you behind the scenes of the Fab Four's last live public concert at Candlestick Park in 1966, with over 150 photos and proof sheets, half of them never before seen. And my last slide for the kitchen. Turning Up the Heat with the Flavor of Fire by James Beard semifinalist and Top Chef winner Kelsey Bernard Clark. You can learn to grill, smoke, and cook anything outside. Not only is Kelsey a barbecue boss, she takes the how-to guide and Southern recipe book to the next level with beautiful, entertaining tips too. And then Pizza Practice from preeminent bread baker Tara Jensen is an extensive cookbook of pizza and even pizza adjacent and post-pizza dessert recipes. Interestingly, this is the first Bible pizza written by a woman apparently, and the book design is on brand with her pizzeria called Dough Baby. And last but not least, not to be undone by Cheese Illustrated and Pickles Illustrated, Citrus is here to claim its moment. This little book is an exploration of over 25 citrus varieties and their uses, like adding some pop to simple dishes and different ways to use the oils of the peel and the juice. And on that very sexy note, next slide, that is it from me. My contact info is on that slide. I'm going to pass it on to Grace to shut it down for us.
Thank you, Lynette, for making me very hungry. And Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. I'm going to jump right in on the next slide with Writers to Watch. This Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we're hosting Christina Baker-Klein, Francine Prose, Daniel M. Lavery, and Daniel Stone. And Lainey's going to toss the registration link in the chat. So we're really looking forward to seeing you there for our 3rd anniversary of Writers to Watch. And next slide, I'm going to jump right in with Ann Patchett. Ann doesn't really need an introduction for Whistler, but she is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Tom Lake, The Dutch House, and more. She's won numerous awards and is an in-house and fan favorite. This is about 53-year-old Daphne Fuller. She's wandering the Met with her husband when they notice an elderly man following them. To Daphne's surprise, it's Eddie Triplett, a man she hasn't seen in years. He wasn't married to her mother long, a little over a year, but he was her stepfather at some point. And it's been a long time since the event that changed their lives forever, and she hasn't seen him since, though their relationship had a lasting effect on the both of them. And after reconnecting, they're determined to not be separated again. A story about memory and moments that change lives, Ann Patchett crafts a beautiful novel. It's her at her best, and I'm really excited for you to read it because the eGalley is now available. Next, we have Immortal Rose by Alexandra Bracken. We're really excited for this adult debut fantasy. She's the #1 New York Times bestselling YA author of Lore and the Darkest Mind series, and her fans are going to be so excited for her adult debut, and I think she's going to make a lot of new fans too. So members of the ancient Roseborn family have a special gift given to them by a fairy ancestor. They can infuse fragrance with magical properties that manipulate emotion, the body, the mind. In the kingdom of Albion, Hugh, a royal spy master, enlists help from Violet, the last of the Roseborn family, as the kingdom is at risk. And despite her disdain for him, she agrees. If she crafts a perfume, Immortal Rose, she can hold on to the fortune and the life that she's entitled to. So the two set out to find the perfume's lost ingredient and can't seem to shake the attraction that's building between them. It's a delicious, slow burn romance with other tropes that readers are going to flock to. And we really can't wait for you to read this one and see its gorgeous packaging. Next, we have The Wish by Heather Morris. You probably have heard of The Tattoo of Auschwitz, her #1 internationally best-selling book. And now we have a heartbreaking contemporary novel full of the author's characteristic empathy. Jessie is 15. She loves her friends, her little brother, her parents, but most of all, playing video games, even from her hospital bed. Alex is 29. He doesn't love a lot of things and isn't really sure he knows how to. A virtual reality game designer, his work desk is empty except for his computer, much like his life sometimes feels. And then Jessie makes a wish, a simple one, a video game experience made of her life, something to be there just in case she isn't. For fans of Jodi Picoult and John Green, it's a book for book clubs with themes of family, love, unexpected friendship, resilience, and finding hopes in dark times. Next, I have Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep by Paul Tremblay. I'm obsessed with this cover. I think it's so cool. He is the multiple award-winning, critically acclaimed New York Times bestselling author. If you're a horror fan, you'll be so excited for this. And if you aren't, he'll make you into one. This one is meta, timely, and has the same great sense of humor that only Paul can write. You're going to recognize that signature style. So Julia Flang, a 20-something former semi-professional gamer, living with her retired uncle and working 2 jobs she doesn't like. Then she's offered a temp job that she just cannot refuse because of the pay. The job requires her to chaperone a man in a vegetative state, one with propriety AI planted in his head from California to the East Coast. So we bounce back and forth between Julia's experience and the middle-aged man, she calls him Bernie, who wakes up in a disorienting hellscape with morphing reality in which he has no memory of who he is. So she uses this cell phone modeled after a game controller to try to get to the other side, but she's kind of questioning the morality of this. And while she's doing this, they become unlikely allies and fugitives. It's a genre bender that talks about AI in a really unique and refreshing way. Next, we have Big and Lily. This is a laugh out loud story of sisters with a lot of heart. Bridget, also known as Big, feels like she's dropping everything she's trying to juggle, from her kids to her retired husband to her mother. Meanwhile, her sister, Lily, seemingly has everything: charm, a business that's doing well, and a loving husband. But Lily's life blows up when she finds out her perfect husband has been cheating on her. So she runs. She drags Big along with her to Alaska. On their trip, detached from the outside world with a lack of cell service, they navigate the wilderness. But most importantly, they face everything they've spent years running from: regret, jealousy, resentment, and reality. It's a sister story for everyone who needs to find themselves when they're truly lost. And I just think the cover is so, so cute. Next, we have Young King by Lerone Martin. So it's almost MLK Day, so this felt really fitting to tell you about Young King. Dr. Lerone Martin is the Martin Luther King Jr. Centennial Professor and Director of the MLK Jr. Research and Education Institute at Stanford. Plus, he serves as the Senior Editor of the MLK Jr. Papers Project. It would be an understatement to say that he's qualified. He's the best person to write this book. Although we all know who he was during the civil rights movement as a leader, this book sheds a light on who he was during his adolescence and what shaped him into the man we all know. He traces his life as an emotional boy, a high schooler dedicated to fashion and dancing, and his summer job that changed his life during college. It offers us understanding of this influential activist and is incredibly timely as America experiences hardship and turmoil. It's really a testament to how history shapes leaders. And it comes with these never before seen or rarely seen black and white photographs of him in his adolescence, his school days, and early college years. And I just think this is a really important book that we're excited to bring to you all. So next we have our If I Had More Time slide. We have really exciting things coming. And these are also in the Edelweiss catalog. And our last slide. Thanks for coming today. Happy New Year. Reach out to me with any questions. And I am just really happy you were all here. And I look forward to seeing you all either at Writers to Watch on Thursday or tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Facebook or Crowdcast for Galley Gab Fest. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Grace. Thanks, everyone. This was really fantastic. We talked about over 160 titles. Like in our Edelweiss catalog, I think we have 169. So if you don't have something to read, we can't help you. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you again to all of our panelists. I'm either sorry or you're welcome for putting all the great cookbooks in your lunch hour. Have a great first month of the year, and we'll see you soon. Don't forget, we're going to be at PLA, so come see folks at PLA in Minneapolis. Thank you.